Welcome to the Ellis Talker Show. If you enjoy our content, please like or subscribe.
Hi, welcome to Ellis Talker Show. I'm DV LeBron. Do you have things that you need to get done around the house? Any construction needs? Check out K&H Construction, their local firm, Chris Helms from Waxahachie. Let them know DV LeBron sent you. Today, my very special guest is the current JP4 for Ellis County, Justice of the Peace, Mr. Butch Bryant. How are you, sir?
Hey, DV, how you doing, brother?
Doing good. Thank you so much for being on the show. This is the first. The great of Butch be on the Ellis Talker. It's good to have you on, and like I've told all the candidates this season, thank you so much for wanting to serve your community. In your case, continue to serve your community in this rough and tumble thing called Ellis County politics. It can be interesting, and it can be rough, a rough and tumble sport. So thank you for wanting to serve your community.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And again, thank you for your friendship for 5-6 years now, something like that. Thank you for the service you provide to each citizen and every voter in the county. I know that's something you do on your own time and out of your own dollar and out of your own pocket. And I think you do it just because of the love of your heart and you actually care.
Thank you.
I know many people tell you thank you, as they should, but truly, I am grateful for the service you provide, and more than anything, your friendship, sir.
Appreciate it, Butch. It's going to be, I'll tell you what, after this election season, there might be a little bit of break time on the Ellis Talker, but, I got to continue on this candidate series. What made you, tell me about, well, people may not know you. Tell people about Butch. Who is Butch? And it's, it's James Butch Bryant, right?
Yes, sir.
Butch is I didn't even know you had a James. I didn't know that. So
yeah, James Bryant is actually my God-given name. Butch is a nickname that my dad gave me when I was a little boy. He had a cousin named Butch that he used to run around with that was kind of a wild child. He passed away before I was born, obviously, but when I came around, I was told by my grandmother that I acted like Butch Sharp, which was my dad's cousin, and then I just picked up the nickname. But I am a lifelong Ellis County citizen, born and raised in Texas, born in Waxahachie. It was T.C. Willman where I was born, which is no longer there. It's an empty field, which eventually became Baylor in Waxahachie before they built the new one, obviously. In 1980, 45 years old, unfortunately divorced, but that is life. But I am grateful for my ex-wife because without her, I wouldn't have my two wonderful children. I have a 16-year-old daughter named Arden, who is a junior at Life's High School in Waxahachie, an 11-year-old son that's fifth grade at Life Red Oak, and both excel, both good kids, both Christian. I'm Christian. Attend Cowboy Church for over 10-12 years. Help sometimes do Bible study on Wednesday nights with my church and my Bible group. So, and pretty active in almost anything I can get myself into on top of what my current duties, and also assistant coach my son's baseball team. So I stay pretty busy.
You see, you do stay pretty busy. How was it that you ended up in this position? Tell me about your history and how you came about JP4, and then we'll talk about what a JP even does.
Yes, sir. Well, my brother, Samuel Bryant, who is a retired Army veteran who is currently overseas taking care of some business right now. I can't go into detail, and I'm sure you understand why. He was former an SREC state rep, for this area years ago. And he got me involved in the Republican Party and the Ellis County GOP and whatnot. And he said, man, you need to get involved with this. You have a voice, a lot of people, and you should just be involved and know what's going on. He goes, you're getting older. You have children that will inherit what is left behind. You could be a voice to do change. Plus, if you don't get involved or vote, you don't really have a right to complain. I said, okay. So I did and got involved and met a lot of nice people from the party, several elected officials, and tied myself to the ones that I thought were the most conservative, because I'm a conservative Republican. But yet I don't hate anybody who's not, because hate just does not belong in anything. I treat everybody the way I want to be treated. You're kind to me, I'm kind to you. And if you're not kind to me, well, then I'll just kind of treat you kind anyway and ignore you and I'll be short. It is what it is. I think life could be a lot easier if everyone just knew how to treat each other with kindness.
I agree.
Nonetheless, I ended up getting involved working on being a campaign manager and assisting with several of our elected officials who are currently serving and no longer serving. And especially with the JP position, I helped the former Justice of the Judge Ponder get elected. Electioneered for him, block walked for him, door knocked for him. I remember even when he almost, thank God he didn't pass away, but was really sick with COVID. I was out there electioneering for him, trying to get him votes because I believed he was the right person for the job. Duly, he was elected and got to serve, which that was a very proud moment, not just for me, but for Ellis County, because obviously everybody knows that Lewis was the one who had a good hand in stopping forced annexation, which he was annexed himself. The fact that he still wanted to do it should tell you the kindness of his heart for wanting to serve, because he actually cared about the people that live in his city and state, which is fantastic. We should all try to mimic that at times, but sometimes that's hard to do, and I totally understand that.
He's a good guy.
He is a very good guy. And there's a lot of good guys. We have a very large list of very good people currently serving and wanting to serve.
Absolutely.
I think Ellis County is very blessed to have so many people want to step up. And as I said Tuesday night at our meeting, with the Republican Party meeting, anybody who throws their name in the ring to run for an elected office, I thank you for doing so. I might not always agree with everything that you stand for, vice versa, but that's what makes us different. Nonetheless, I also just want to thank you regardless, because you open yourself up to so much scrutiny and ridicule, and the dungeon, it could be referred to sometimes as politics, because it is what it is. I don't want to talk negative, but you know what I mean. Things just happen when they don't really need to happen. People talk about stuff that just is totally irrelevant, but no, it is what it is, man. I don't think you're ever going to stop it, but maybe at some point learn to be adults and be humans and just treat each other with kindness. Again, the kindness thing, but it is what it is. So anyway, fast forward. Unfortunately, we lost a very good friend of ours, Mr. Paul Perry, who was our county commissioner. When he passed away, that left the commissioner seat vacant. And I'll fast forward. The county judge at the time and the commissioners appointed Lewis to fulfill that seat, which left the JP seat vacant for roughly 6 months, which was not good. But, I think we learn now that probably wasn't the best way to go about it at that time than now or whatnot. What makes it not good is, even though there wasn't a JP there, that doesn't mean cases stop coming. As the current JP, FedEx and UPS bring us boxes of cases every other day. So just because there's not a judge there doesn't mean they stop coming. So it piles up, which created a backlog. Fast forward again, we all had to interview to fulfill the seat. Several of us did, and I don't really need to mention everybody's name, but there were several very qualified candidates who applied to fulfill that role. We had a little quorum kind of interim. We were all vetted, and the 13 precinct chairs that live in Precinct 4 are the ones who decided who gets to go on the ballot. I ended up winning that, I believe 7 out of the 13, I think, if I'm accurate. It's been a minute. I'm trying to remember, but nonetheless, I'd won that vote to go put on the ballot. Nonetheless, the commissioners were the ones who got to appoint who was going to fulfill the temporary seat till the election came, and they appointed Lieutenant Mike McKenna at the time. Good dude, and no problem with that. I didn't have any issues with that whatsoever. I shook his hand, congratulate him, as you should. It is what it is. But nonetheless, I was the one that would be put on the ballot, and I ran in November, I ran uncontested. Now, mind you, a Democrat could have ran against me, a libertarian or an individual or whatever could have ran against me, but chose not to. So I was duly elected uncontested, fulfill the unexpired term. And now here we are. The term is coming to an end on December 31st of this year. So obviously we have the primaries coming up, and I would love to continue serving, and hopefully I get to be reelected and continue serving you because I absolutely love what I do.
What does a JP do? I mean, this justice of the peace thing is it's a Texas thing, and there's a lot of people
Yeah.
who are new here and may not even know what a justice of the peace does. What do they do?
Well, justice of the peace do a lot more than what people think they do. When you ask the common person, they'll say, "Don't y'all do marriages and stuff?" Well, yes, we can conduct marriages, but there's so many things what we do. I mean, justice of the peace, we do small claims court, debt claims court, up to $20,000. Like if you cut your neighbor's tree down and you didn't ask permission, they can sue you for that. I mean, it's not the big court kind of stuff, it's small court kind of stuff for the common people like you and I. And that's why the Justice of the Peace Court was created, for simple stuff like that, small claim stuff, where you don't have to have an attorney. You can run represent yourself pro se. It's not required. It is established for the common person. And even in the state of Texas, as you don't really need law degrees or have to be a police officer or anything like that, because it's designed for a common person to be the justice of the peace, to hear those cases because they are a common person, if that makes any sense to you. Nonetheless, we do small claims, debt claims court. We serve eviction court for tenant landlords. We have tow hearings. If your car was towed from I'll give you an example, like an apartment complex, and you don't think it should have been towed, you can come to our court and try to get reimbursed. But, make sure you have everything, your documentation proving you're accurate. If not, it's probably not going to work out, because you have to have your proof, just like anything else. We do DPS tickets from Department of Public Safety, TxDOT, Sheriff's Office tickets. We do truancy court, not currently in Precinct 4. Precinct 2, Judge Miller is the only one who currently is doing truancy. But I think at some point in time, JP4 will end up having to do it along with Judge Miller's court. We do magistrations at the county jail on a 4-week rotation from Thursday to Thursday. We have to go to county jail and arraign inmates and set their bonds. We sign warrants. We serve as a coroner for an unattended death in the county. So if anyone passes away in the county, we are called out. And unattended means if you're not care of a physician. If you are transported to the ER, but you don't go upstairs, that's unattended. If you pass away at home, that's unattended. If you pass away in a car wreck, unfortunately, that's unattended. We do not do hospice inquest, because you are under a care of a physician under hospice. As much as some people don't really want to do that, that is what it is. It's the law. That's what we do. We perform marriages, we administer hearings, we issue warrants, set bonds. We have to maintain our yearly education. Like in end of March, I have to go to the Texas Justice Court Training Center for my 24-hour required refresher course. We do property hearings, destruction hearings, bond modifications. Say if we set a bond for $20,000 and the DA wants to reach out to us and say, "Hey, I want to set this a little lower." They give us their reasons why. And, if we agree, then we modify it and we can adjust it to a lower bond. We really can't change bonds without permission. We kind of have set guidelines on certain things, from your class A's, your class B's, your state jail felonies, 1, 2, 3, what you have a guideline of from like a 0 to so-and-so, of numbers. You typically can't really go over those. You can, but you don't want to go way over those because you might get questioned. So you stay within your realm. I think you're okay. I haven't had an issue yet with that, to my knowledge. We also have to do bond conditions, like on assault, family violence. we still kind of have issues today when local PDs, not that I'm throwing anybody under the bus like that. I think they're still trying to learn what they got to do. But if any kind of assault family violence, you have to have a TCIC form. And without the TCIC forms, we really can't even magistrate that inmate because we have to have that paperwork, to protect that person they're supposedly protecting. Bond conditions for, the typical stay away. If you have to have the GPS monitoring, if you have to report to, community supervision, CDC, CSCD, whatnot, typical stuff like that. So you have to have those stuff to continue to magistrate. Trying to see if I left anything
There's a
out of what we
lot
do.
of stuff that they
Yeah,
do. Like,
yeah,
so you talked about a refresher training. What training did you have to go through? Like,
yes.
is that like did you have to like go get a JD? I mean, there's just a
No,
lot.
yeah. When you are elected justice of the peace, you have to attend 80 hours of training from the Texas Justice Court Training Center out of Austin. There's the new judge toolkit that you have to take. You have to take legal research and resources. Those are required. And you have timelines on when you need to do those. You have to take stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. And they're all at different times, don't get me wrong. But you're required by the state to take these classes before you can actually be a justice of the peace. That is your training. I have completed all of those, and I've actually completed some that I didn't even have to take. The county provides funds in our budget for training and education, and if it's in our budget, I'm going to take advantage of that because the more knowledge I am, the better I am to serve you and every other citizen of Precinct 4. The 2 classes, actually, is it 3 or 2 that I've already taken that I didn't really have to take, I just wanted to, was The Secrets of the Dead. It's a body farm where you study the decomposition of a body. Again, like I said, JP serve as coroners for unattended deaths, and unfortunately, we see some things that most people should not see. I'll just leave it at that. And to determine causes of death, we do investigations, and the body farm taught us different stages of decomposure or how long the body's possibly been sitting there, temperature wise, when did rigor start, when did, at the stages of rigor mortis or whatever. It's just, if that makes any sense to you,
Yeah,
so
that's a
different.
lot.
Yeah. So that was something I chose to do because I wanted to be more educated on that. I don't like death, but it's part of life. We're all on a timeline, but since I serve as a coroner, I want to know as much as I can about death to better serve that loved one who lost a loved one, if that makes any sense.
Wow.
I've taken an impaired driving synopsis or whatnot because we have to magistrate people who have DWIs. I've also taken a jury trial workshop at Baylor, that the Texas Justice Court Training Center. Those 3 were not required. Were not required classes. Those are ones I chose to take on my own because I wanted to be more educated to serve the citizens that I was elected to serve.
Wow. That's a lot. Like, so do you have to do like trials? Do you have to have like juries? Do you do stuff like that in that court?
Yes, we do jury trials in this court. They haven't had jury trials in that court in a long time. And I really don't know why. And it is rumored that we are backlogged 10 years. That's untrue. We have 6 jury trials currently pending. They were all filed in our court before I ever thought about taking office. We have 2 right now, one that puts us at 9 years, and I misspoke Tuesday. So forgive me, citizens. We have one pending from 9 years. It was a small claims court. It was filed in September of 2017, and another one, a debt claims jury trial, that was filed in July of 2018. Those 2 are that put us at the 9 and 8 year mark. We got another one from 2019, another one from 2020, one from 21, and one from 22. Those are the 6 jury trials currently pending. But again, only 2 of them are putting us at the 9 and 8 year mark. The 2 oldest ones will be set sometime this year. It'll be after August. And the reason it's after August is because my docket is booked up to August. I will admit I am still learning to do the jury trials. I had one eviction jury trial that I had Judge Macon come here. Not, excuse me, Judge Miller. My apologies, Judge Miller to come here so I could kind of learn the process of doing it. Again, I've been there 13 months, so it's a lot to learn in 13 months.
Yeah.
I just thought smart on my part to have a seasoned judge to do that, to kind of show me the ropes. And I'd reached out to Judge Macon not long ago to see if he could help me get rid of the two oldest ones. And he said he'd be willing to do so to help us kind of get over that 9-year mark. And then hopefully by the end of 26, I'll be ready to hear the rest of those by 27 and get rid of them. I understand they're important. They need to be done. But again, they weren't done prior to me coming in.
Excuse me.
And I don't understand why they weren't heard before. I'm not saying anything negative to any other prior judges. They just weren't heard. They weren't put on a docket. I don't know why. Maybe they weren't ready to do them yet either. Maybe they still needed to learn. Just like me, I'm learning. So, I mean, I can't say why they didn't do them because I know I haven't done them yet because I'm still learning. So I'm assuming that's probably why as well. But again, they weren't heard prior to me coming in, and there wasn't a word said, but now it's a big deal.
And,
You know what I'm
well,
saying?
I mean, it's all part of it. And you know, when you take that, I mean, and when you're talking about the amount of qualifications and stuff, you can't mess that up. That is a legal thing. And you know, you think you it's one of those things where you want to make sure you're prepared. So I could imagine, I mean, at least me, if I look at it and everything that I've been listening you say, I would want to make sure that I was as close to almost expert as I could to hear those things because they affect your constituents' lives, you know, and
Absolutely.
and they're very important.
You're 100% right. And I didn't want to jump into something and mess it up. I mean, I'm a human. We are going to mess things up.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody that hasn't messed anything up, but I don't want to make that mistake because I don't think that's fair to the citizens of this precinct that I'm elected to serve. Oh, I also forgot to let you know something. I also attended the 2025 legislative update. As you know as well as I do, the law changes every 2 years. So what I was doing, I'll give you an example in eviction court in 25. Some of those things I no longer can do. There's new things, new questions I have to add and ask in eviction court now in 26 since the legislative update has happened. I also will tell you I am the only candidate currently that is trained of the state of Texas to do the job.
Wow. Now, how do you, because you mentioned things like eviction and you know, there's some people who are just, you know, they're just deadbeat, they don't pay their bills, and then there's people in really bad situations, and then, you know, just in general, in any of those cases, there are really good people in just bad situations. How do you balance compassion when enforcing law, especially when it comes to like cases involving evictions, fines, and truancy, etc.?
That's a very good question. I truly feel for these people who are having issues and like the legitimate ones that have the issues and can't afford to pay their rent or whatnot. I've been a guy who couldn't afford to pay rent. Sometimes I still struggle with things, especially as a single divorced father of two. You know, learning to get on your feet was tough, you know, so I understand. I totally relate to these people, but my heart feels for them and I have empathy for them, don't get me wrong, but again, as a judge, you have to be impartial. You have to take the empathy and the sympathy out. I mean, your heart hurts for them, it does, but on the bench, it has to be just straight down the line, you know. I treat them with respect as always. I give them their time in court to speak. If you're not paying your rent and you're in violation, there's not a whole lot I can really do for you. And most of the people who come into the court for eviction court, they know that. It doesn't make it any easier for them, but they do know that. But they also know there's always an appeal deadline. You know, if you don't like my decision, you have a certain time to appeal it and pay into the court registry, which technically just buys you a little more time, but sometimes it buys them enough time to get caught up. And there's a lot of the landlords that don't really want to evict their tenants because, they're human, they get it, but they also have to do their job. And that's something that we deal with every Monday, but again, I have the empathy for them and sympathy for them, and my hands are kind of tied, and I have to follow the law no matter what.
Wow. And how do you ensure you protect, because there's two parties there. You have to protect the tenants, right? And you have to protect the landlords, right? And I don't know exactly how the law pertains in Texas. I know in some other states it's an outsized imbalance towards the tenant versus the landlord. In some states maybe the landlord more so than the tenant. How do you balance those?
I try to be as equal as I possibly can. I mean, if the tenants are not paying their rent, obviously, I mean, we have landlords that want to file for them being uh 3 days late, which I've been a guy 3 days late before, but I'd call the landlord and say, "Hey, I'm going to be a little late. Is this a problem?" And most of the time they would tell me it's okay as long as you pay it by a certain date. But again, some landlords are not that lenient, and I get that. And a lot of these apartment complexes, they have their rules and regulations, and it's like clockwork. If it ain't here, send out the notice. And as long as the landlord, the tenant has sent the 3 day notice, filed all the right paperwork, we have to, abide what they provide us. If the is not paying but said they paid. And I've had some landlords come in and say they haven't paid, but then I have the tenant come in, say they weren't properly served and can prove it to me, and they've had them told me too they paid the rent, showed me the receipts where they paid. I'm like, I'll ask the landlord. I'm like, well, this here tells me it's been paid. And sometimes it just hasn't reflected yet. And the landlord will ask me, hey, can we have a continuance or can we abate this for a week to sort it out? And if they show me enough proof where we can do that, I will abate that for a week and buy them a little more time to work it out. And I will say, fortunately for some people, it has worked out and they proved that, hey, it just didn't get into their system yet and they were able to stay. So, but then again, sometimes it don't always work out that way. The landlord provides everything they need and they do everything right. And the tenant provides everything right. But again, the bottom line is if you're not paying what you agreed to do, my hands are kind of tied, if that makes.
What steps do you take, because these are legal processes? What steps
Mhm.
do you take to make sure that everybody knows their rights on their process when it comes to that process?
Well, the steps, one, as a justice of the peace and my staff, we cannot give you legal
Right.
advice. That's the law. There are self-help packets in our lobby. We refer them to the self-help packets, and we get calls all the time. Hey, how do I file this? Hey, how do we do that? And we're like, we can't tell you that. We refer you to the self-help packets. So if you follow the self-help packet, and so does the landlord, that's kind of the guidelines. And as long as that's followed, the process will happen the way the process is supposed to happen. If it's not followed the way it's supposed to, well, then obviously I will dismiss it in open court.
Right, right. Now, what is because growth is affecting. I was talking with the DA Lindy Beatty recently on an
Yes, sir.
interview, and we were talking about how growth is affecting, and then all the politicians that I've had on this election cycle, we've talked about growth. How are things like growth and other things affecting this? What is like the common trend that you're seeing, the biggest issue that's facing JP4 right now?
The biggest issue for JP4 right now, not necessarily the growth. I mean, we are busy. We are one of the busiest courts because we are one of the bigger precincts because we're the northwest side of the county, and it seems like everybody's moving over
Right.
here, building houses like crazy and apartments like crazy. And my precinct is so huge. I mean, I extend all the way to Red Oak to the west side of 35. I go up north to, I believe, Bear Creek. I shoot back west all the way to 360 and 287, shoot back down towards Venus, down to 157 to 875. I mean, it's a
That's a
huge
whole lot of
precinct.
shoot there, Butch.
Yes, yes, it is. I think the hardest or the biggest challenge is I think people are just having issues with finding work. there's just not a really, from what I hear, just not a lot of high paying jobs around. And hopefully with growth, there comes new resources and new buildings and new businesses that will bring in good paying jobs. A lot of them are single mothers or single fathers, as I have been before, just trying to make it. And childcare costs so much, and pay your rent or pay your child care. You don't have child care, you can't go to work. You can buy a little time with the rent, but the child care, if you don't pay, the kid don't go, kind of stuff. I've had issues with that years ago, and I think it's a little worse now. But there's resources out there that the county can provide, but I'm not allowed to point them out to them. The people have to kind of figure them out themselves. But I think that's part of the biggest issue that people are having. Growth comes, but growth doesn't come without growing pains. And that's throughout the county. I think that's in any business whatsoever, not just in the Justice Peace office. I think that's in every office whatsoever, every business, every store, what have you in this county. I believe growth has a growing pain. And at some point in time, the growing pains will mend and everything will kind of flow at some point in time. But it never flows right when we want it to flow, in my opinion. But then again, that's just my opinion.
That it works that way sometimes.
Yes.
I could keep you on all night because there's so many questions, but I'm kind of running out of time there, Butch. But I
No
wanted
problem.
to ask you a few questions before we kind of wrap up. When it comes to being, because it is an elected position, what are your thoughts on being a good steward to the people's money? Because you're running a budget there, right?
Yes, yes. We have our budget is a $514,000 $20 a year budget. Currently, we are really good with the budget. We still have 77% of the budget left. Our monthly expenses are about 120,000. If it's not necessary, we don't spend it. If it's necessary, then we spend it. Um, and even last year, when I went to the commissioner's court for the budget, I didn't ask for more money. My coordinator and I looked at the paperwork, and I said, from the previous budget that McKenna and Ponder had, I said, "Do you feel where we need any more here? Because I don't think we do." And we both looked at it together, and we're like, "No, we can maintain with what we have." Now, maybe in 27 budget comes, or 26 budget comes, which would come in October. I think we might ask for another clerk or maybe a part-time clerk, because we're so busy, because we're so big. And if the commissioners grant that to us, then obviously, it's going to go up a little bit taxpayer wise. But for the most part, everything that we're doing with the budget right now, if it's not necessary, we're not spending it. It's just like your checkbook at home. It's just a much bigger checkbook than what I have, but it's not just me maintaining it. A competent coordinator and myself maintain that budget along with every other elected official. Their budgets are way bigger than mine at times, and I'm sure with them and their coordinators and their staff or what have you, you do what you got to do to keep that balance right, and not spend unnecessary spending, because being conservative is not wasting money that you don't need to spend.
How important is transparency to you?
Yes, transparency is everything. And speaking of transparency, people talk about backlog and what we've done and what are you doing in your court or whatnot. Well, I mentioned this Tuesday, excuse me, since taking office, I've been there 13 months. Between civil and criminal cases, my staff and I, along with the help of the constables, we have closed 8,674 cases in 13 months. I think it's significant results for 13 months, because mind you, we can't have court every day because the constables still have to go do their job, serving their writs, doing their paperwork. And I also want to clear up too, the constables do not work for the Justice of the Peace office. People ask me that all the time. Well, why can't you make them do it? Well, they don't work for us. They are their own separate entity. They assist us. They bailiff for us, and there are also our court security. We kind of have to work around their schedule, vice versa. We're a team, but not a team. We work together, but you get what I'm trying to say.
Right.
So with their help and our help, combined together, that's how many cases we were able to get done. And some people say, well, that's probably not true. Well, actually, it is true, because this is public information that you can pull from the Justice Court Summary of Activity. Every county in the state of Texas, you can look up their progress of what they're doing if you choose to do so. Most people won't, but you can. So that's part of being transparent to me, letting my public know that this is what we're doing in this office. We show up to work every day. If I'm not there, I either got called out for a death, I'm at the jail doing arraignments, I'm taking care of mail, dropping off tickets, any kind of appeal. It don't get faxed to the county. I physically have to take it on my gas, which the county pays for my fuel. Don't get me wrong, but I take it. So if I'm not there, it's because I'm probably doing what you elected me to do. And I also will say, too, in 2025, I was called out 105 times for an inquest. That's all hours of the night. A justice of the peace job is a 24/7, 365-day-a-year job. Nights, weekends, holidays, birthdays. And technically, we're never off.
Right.
And I'm not complaining by no means. I love this job. This is the most rewarding thing I've done. I love serving. It brings me actual joy. I think I excel at this along with my staff. And along with the other justices of pieces that I work with, we have a good team going on here. If anyone wants to know my performance, I mean, you could ask either one of the three JPs that I currently serve with, and they'll tell you how I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I've actually served on their benches. And if I didn't know what I was doing, I don't think they'd allow me to serve on their benches and hold court in their courtroom if I didn't know what I was doing, just in my honest opinion. Go ahead.
When it, as we wrap up, Butch, there
Yes,
might
sir.
be some people undecided. There might be some people who don't quite know. Why should
Right.
you be reelected? And this is where you talk to the voters. Why should they reelect you, give you another shot at this? And if you are reelected, what are some of the things you'd like to do going forward?
Yes, sir. Well, thank you for that. One, why I should to the voter who doesn't or undecided voter. First of all, I am Judge Butch Bryant. It's a pleasure to meet you. Uh, I have an open door policy. Anytime you'd like to come in and say hello, you can. The Justice of the Peace Court is the people's court. That means it's the court closest to the citizens. The JPs are the judges closest to the, and that means an average person can, which that would be me, an average citizen. I am kind. I listen. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to serve you within my legal realm. I love this job. It is the most rewarding thing I've ever done. I truly serve from the heart. I think it takes an unselfish person to be a justice of the peace. It also has to take a Christian and a kind heart because you have to be able to relate to people. It's not, or you're the judge, jury, and executioner. That's not what it was created for. The Justice of the Peace Court was created for the average citizen to get simple justice. And I believe my staff and I provide that. Why I would love to continue serving. I am the third JP in 3 years. I don't think it's fair to the citizens of this precinct to have to bring in another one, which would be the fourth JP in 4 years, send that person to the same training that I've already gone through on taxpayer dollars, which would not be conservative in maintaining, not really smart on managing your budget by no means, in my honest opinion. But I mean, if that does happen, it is what it is. I'll be grateful for the time that I did get to serve. I also will say that either whoever gets elected, we do have an opponent in November, and I would hope my opponent would support me at that time, as I would support him if not reelected in November, or sorry, in March, because of the general. I would support that person if it was not me. I think 3 key points to being the justice of the peace to be successful, and these are just my opinions, only my opinions from my heart. The first one is service. 2, build relationships. 3, maintain the relationships you build 24/7, 365 days a year. Because every entity you have to work with, every LEO in this county you have to work with, the DAs, all of them, we all have to work as a team. We're separate entities, but yet we still have to play on the same team. I have no issue working with anybody that's currently elected or any office, and I'm willing to do whatever we got to do to continue to keep Ellis County safe for the citizens that live here and the wonderful people who live here, and keep Ellis County the best county to the state of Texas. I'm Judge Bryant. I am your current Justice of the Peace. I hope I am fortunate enough to have your vote to continue serving you. God bless you. God bless Ellis County.
Thank you so much again for coming on the show. Can you stick around after the show real quick?
Absolutely, brother.